It's early morning and your teammates shove off the Penn dock. It may be cold or hot. You may still be half asleep, or your blisters hurt, or you're affected by any of a million other things that would bother you if you were still on campus. But you're on the water and you're writing your own life story, just as you add to the much, much, much bigger story than just this morning's row.
You may not think of it when you're falling off an erg after a brutal 2K. You may not consider that when your boat is pulling ahead at the island, swinging as if by magic. You may not have ever heard of Stanley Jelnick, Penn's first Olympian, or Rick Flobeck, Penn's 49th Olympian, or Regina Salmons, Penn's 59th and latest Olympian.
You might not know any of that, but whether you were heavyweight, lightweight, man or woman on the first or fifth boat, you're part of the Penn Rowing tradition, the deep-rooted, sweaty, euphoric story of our sport, our city, and our beloved college.
And it all starts here with our Boathouse.
The University Barge Club was the forerunner to the Boathouse we celebrate today. Founded by a group of Penn undergraduates, in 1854, UBC was modeled on College Hall. In 1872, some sophomores split off and started another club. It was called, wait for it, College Boat Club.
And the cost of the entire thing, $8,000.
Penn won the new IRA regatta in 1898, 99, and 1900.
In 1901, Penn became the first American crew to make the final of the Grand Challenge Cup at Henley.
At the end of World War I, Penn's coach, a Canadian guy named Joe Wright, went big. He invited any Penn student who wanted to learn to row to come to the Boathouse.
In 1919, 200 students came. In 1920, it was up to 300.
Women had earned the right to vote in 1920, just not to row.
Not yet, but there was a new program at the Boathouse, lightweights. And like the heavyweights, the 150s instantly start to win races. From 1919 through 1928, they lost exactly once. It was already time to expand the Boathouse. 2 more boat bays were added in 1923.
New coach, Rusty Callow, made 2 game-changing decisions. In 1928, he recruited an apple farmer's son from South Jersey.
The other was how in 1935, he welcomed the first women to row out of the Boathouse.
It was a PE class and didn't become an intercollegiate sport for 40 years, but women were finally on the water.
The apple farmer's son became the best single sculler and one of the best crew coaches in the world. His name was Joe Burke. Joe Burke died in 2008 at the age of 94. When you talk about a life well lived, there should be a picture of him right next to it. He won the Diamond Sculls at Henley twice. When World War II canceled the 1940 Olympics, he commanded a PT boat in the South Pacific, winning the Navy Cross.
He started coaching at Penn in 1950, and while he was tough, he was by all accounts a fierce competitor and a gentleman.
As soon as Joe arrived, Penn cut the lightweight program. Burke would have none of it. He rescued the program, and as if to return the favor, the lightweights won the sprints and the Thames Cup in both 1951 and 1952. They were the first Penn crew to win at Henley.
In 1955, the heavyweights and lightweights both won the Eastern Sprints, and the heavies with Harry Parker and Tusi went on to win the Grand Challenge Cup at Henley.
A spot of encouragement to help them on their way. Yes, it's still Pennsylvania, romping home with 1/3 of a length in hand. Once upon a time, Henley Regatta was a purely national event. Those days are gone.
And Harry went on to become a coach, but not at Penn.
In 1967, Joe Burke's heavyweight varsity, captained by Nick Baumgarten, won the IRA for the first time since 1900. And in 1969, they won it for the 3rd time in a row, along with the overall points trophy.
On this highest of notes, Joe decided to retire from coaching. He handed his megaphone to his assistant coach, a quiet, reserved man named Ted A. Nash.
Coach Nash kept the steamroller going. His boats won the IRA in 72 and the 10-Ike Points Trophy in 76, 77, and 78. During his time at Penn, he put more than a dozen people on the Olympic team.
Meanwhile, the lightweights were on a roll too under new coach Fred Leonard. Fred's crews hardly lost the cup race during the late 1960s and 1970s.
In 1976, stroked by an undersized sophomore named Bruce Konopka, the lightweights won the varsity race at the sprints for the first time, taking home the Wright Cup, named for Joe Wright.
Women's rowing became a varsity sport in 1975 after the passage of Title IX. Almost immediately, the women's program succeeded. In 1980, the Varsity 8 won the sprints and the team was awarded the Total Points Trophy.
There was one minor problem. The women were rowing out of Bachelors, not Penn. Bachelors Barge Club, lest we forget, was a boat club founded to accommodate only bachelors.
Time for another expansion to the Boathouse.
Mrs. Sarah Madeira funded an additional bay, and by 1982, the boathouse was named the Madeira Shell House. The women and men were finally sharing the same boathouse, meeting on their shabby but convivial red leather couch in the lobby.
It was a new era in Penn Rowing, heralded by the arrival of a South Jersey-born coach. His name was Stan Bergman.
Like Joe Burke, he was a fierce competitor and a gentleman. Within a year, his heavyweights were on fire. In 1986, the heavies won the sprints, beginning a run of 7 IRA championships and 10 Eastern Sprints victories.
Stan's teams were deep with talent, maybe no more so than in 1991.
After winning the overall points trophy at both the sprints and the IRAs for the second time in 3 years, Penn sent 5 boats to Henley. There, the junior varsity finished off its undefeated season by winning the Thames Cup. Coach Bergman's special brand of leadership continued to impact the lives of all the athletes at the Boathouse, lightweights and women included.
In 1997, women's rowing became an NCAA sport, and Penn women earned their first berth at the NCAA championship under coach, alum, and 2-time Olympian Barb Kirsch-Grunt.
In 2001, Susan Francia walked through the Boathouse door. In 2008, Susan became Penn's very first gold medalist at the Beijing Olympics. In 2012, Susan became Penn's first double gold medalist. We hope she's not the last. The One Penn era has already begun. In 2019, pre-pandemic, Coach Farrell's crew shocked the rowing establishment, winning the Eastern Sprints from dreaded Lane 6. The lightweights then sent 2 boats to Henley, becoming the first Penn crews to compete on the Thames in 21 years.
In 2022, Coach Wessing's women's program earned a berth to the NCAAs and went on to their best finish in the NCAA era.
Finally, in September 2022, Penn hired Al Monty, away from Dartmouth, to become the next men's heavyweight coach.
On September 28th, Liz McGill, Penn's new president, and Alana Shanahan, Penn's new athletic director, joined the team at the new Boathouse for the first time. It was pretty clear that the reconfigured space was a hit.
When I watch this current crop of athletes cross into the new Boathouse, I think of the rowers of the last 140 years, all of them essentially doing the same thing, lifting high their boats, carrying their oars, and rowing their hearts out.
That's why I love that this place will now be called the Burke Bergman Boathouse, in honor of 2 coaches who transformed the lives of so many rowers who have stepped over this very threshold, got into a boat,
and shoved off the dock. Like always, every day on a river is a great day to be alive.